Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm going to do something that I have never done before. I'm going to be combining a Booktube shout-out or pay-it-forward tag with a foodie book tag. One of my all-time favorite videos that I've watched on Booktube was Peter Clark's rendition of the Muppet book tag, where he compared some of his favorite booktubers to different Muppets, and talked about why he made those comparisons. For me, he compared me to Rolf the dog, which I think, come to think of it, I do have some characteristics that are a bit similar to his. My sister was saying how she was interested in hearing people's responses to what kind of vegetable they would be, and what was more interesting is how they responded as opposed to what the vegetable was. I think in my case, both are going to be interesting. I present to you the Booktuber cheese tag, where I am going to be comparing some of my favorite booktubers to different types of cheese. I'm not going to be using any historical or cultural information. I'm instead just going to be using my own personal experiences and the tastes and aromas and just the physical characteristics of different types of cheese. The first two booktubers that I'm going to be talking about and comparing to cheese are the ones that I already made comparisons to in my pay-it-forward tags, and these are strictly compliments because I love and admire cheese, and I love and admire these booktubers. First one I'm going to talk about is Annie from Am I Right? And in the pay-it-forward tag I compared her to a sharp cheddar. The reason I did so is because, to me, a sharp cheddar is a very outgoing, it's a very pleasant, and it's a very straightforward type of cheese. And I feel that Annie possesses so many of these traits, and anytime I watch her videos, I won't forget about them because her personality is just so bubbly and just forthright, and it sticks with you. The next one I want to talk about is Bekka from Rapacious Reads. Bekka, I highly thank you if you took the time to watch this video, because I had no idea that you were mortified of cheese, as you made mention to in your response to the pay-it-forward tag. And you are an aged provolone cheese, not a stinky old cheese. But the reason I feel that Bekka from Rapacious Reads, I compared her to an aged provolone, is because she has that air of confidence in each of her videos, and I think that aged provolone is very confident in its outward presence, because it knows that when you try it, it is going to be an experience that sticks with you. It's a star in salads, on sandwiches. Not necessarily sandwiches for aged, but when you're using it, it brings out this sense of brilliance. And Bekka does this, she does this confidently with her the information that she shares, her intelligent ideas, whether it be through reviews or through acting scenes out from different books and works of literature. She just has such a brilliant channel that once you get into it, you don't want to miss any other videos, because she puts everything into what she does. Now let's get on to some new comparisons that I'm going to be making. Starting with Steve from Steve Donoghue, because what is a book tag without Steve Donoghue? if there is no Steve Donoghue in a tag, he won't be very happy. Hopefully he will be happy with the cheese that I'm comparing him to, and that's Parmigiano Reggiano, the king of all cheese, which Steve Donoghue is pretty much the king of my section of the booktube community, and Steve Donoghue uploads at least one video a day, if not multiple, and he does videos on so many things, and they're sprinkled across my subscription feed. James McNair once brilliantly said that authentic Parmigiano Reggiano can be consumed like candy. And I feel that Steve Donoghue's videos can be consumed in that nature. And his videos are an essential staple to the booktube community, as Parmigiano Reggiano is to a cheese-based diet. Peter from PeterClarkTheWriter is my next booktuber that I'm going to be talking about. And if Peter Clark were a cheese, I would say that he would be feta, because feta is a vibrant star role in whatever meal it is taking part. Feta is often used in Greek salads, and it has that very clay-like, salty taste to it. But it's essential to more subtle ingredients, such as the vegetables at hand. Maybe not the olives, but the feta definitely plays a role in being the olive's partner. I've had plenty of Greek dishes at Greek restaurants, whether it be in a mac and cheese or in, can't tell you off the bat what the it was some kind of it was kind of like a gyro with steak, but the feta really has that memorable kick to it. And Peter Clark, you cannot help but have his personality stuck in your head throughout the entire video, because he is so energetic and animated, and I feel that he possesses those traits in his videos and within the community that feta does in whatever dish it takes part. Next one I'm going to talk about is Adrian from Strip Covered Lit, and Dalton has been making appearances on those in the Strip Covered Lit videos again, so it was great to see him come back. But with Adrian, I would compare him to a smoked Gouda, or the proper term, a smoked Howdah. Because to me, it has a gruff and straightforward approach, and once you smoke a cheese, it really takes on a completely different embodiment. And I can't help but thinking about Adrian's enthusiasm for smoking cigars. So, if you want to make it punny right there, a smoked Gouda and you smoke a cigar. But I think that Gouda, or Howdah in general, is a bit more laid back when it's not smoked. And you can say in a way that Adrian, with his interests, they're a bit more, if you consider literary fiction to be a bit more laid back compared to science fiction, fantasy, and contemporary works that are always on the move, and literary fiction has a slower flow to it, you can definitely incorporate that as well, and then incorporate the smoked part of it. And I would say that Dalton is a smoked mozzarella because he is a bit more mainstream, and especially in the United States, mozzarella is a very mainstream kind of cheese. In some cases, it's a little too mainstream, but there are definitely essential options. I'm going to get back to mozzarella, or mozzarella, or mozzarella, I believe is the proper pronunciation. Next one is Mark from Richardson Reads, who went back into the vault to do my cheese book tag, and he even paid a visit to Cabot in order to prepare. But I think that if I were to compare Mark to a cheese, it would be Manchego, because Manchego has that assertive introduction to it, maybe just even in the name alone. It's a sheep cheese, which, as Max McCallman says, sheep make the best cheese, while cows make the best butter and goats make the best milk. But Manchego has so many uses, and it is frequently used on cheese plates at the various restaurants that I've been to. I've been to plenty of restaurants that offer cheese plates, and Manchego is on many of them. And the way that it tastes, it has that taste that goes with so many different things. My favorite pairings for Manchego are honey and almonds. But I think that Mark is a very versatile and well-rounded reader. And when your first impression of him is he's got that assertive introduction, and when you watch his videos, you come to realize that he is so versatile and well-rounded, not just in the material that he reads, but also in the types of videos that he films. Next one is Ellie from Earl Grey Books. And if I were to compare her to a cheese, it would be ricotta, because she is a very soft-spoken booktuber, but her content is powerful. As Theodore Roosevelt said about speaking softly, you should speak softly and carry a big stick. And Ellie certainly carries a big stick. With ricotta cheese, well, technically not a cheese, but it has been classified as such. But the ricotta cheese in general doesn't have much of a taste to it, but it is such an important cheese in so many different dishes. In dinner dishes, it's used to stuff pasta and stuff pizza dishes. Lasagna, stuffed shells, menegut, calzones, and then desserts, it is essential as well. People use it in cheesecake, and most especially, it is the star of the cannoli. It is the essential part. The cannoli cream is a ricotta base, and I feel that ricotta is so important in so many different dishes. Ellie is so important to the booktube community and to book blogging, because she has her blog Tea and Titles, and she's also been working with Inge from Wonderland. She's been making contributions. We're going to get back to Inge, and I'll tell you how we're going to incorporate her. But for now, the next booktuber I want to talk about is Amy from the Dusty Bookshelf. The first so many foodie book tags, she was the first person to respond. And she also created she created book tags, the tea book tag, she created a tea book tag and a garden book tag. And I've done both of them and enjoyed them. But if I were to compare her to a cheese, I would compare her to Merlot cheese, which I think that I don't consume any alcohol, but I think alcohol makes a great ingredient, and I think that alcohol and cheese are a very good pairing. Merlot cheese is just so smooth and mellow, and Amy, in her initial disposition, is smooth and mellow, but she's brilliant and offers so much insight. And she offers so much in a certain area. I think that she's the first booktuber that I came across that, to me, embodied a Canadian literature reader. And I feel that when you watch her videos, you get into the zone. And Merlot is a kind of cheese that I can't eat it with anything else. It has to be eaten alone. Next one I'm going to talk about is Inge from Of Wonderland. Inge is the only one on this list that's not a booktuber, but she is an avid Goodreads reviewer, and she's probably one of the most prolific book bloggers when it comes to YA, fantasy, and chick lit. But Inge also has one of the kindest hearts that I've ever come across in the online book community. She is Belgium's #1 book reviewer as far as Goodreads is concerned, and I would say that she is Belgium's #1 book blogger, forthright. But if I were to compare her to a cheese, it would be mozzarella or mozzarella, because mozzarella is a kind of cheese that I think with Inge, you have to pick a cheese that can melt well. And mozzarella is essential when it comes to melting on top of pizza and pasta dishes. You can melt it on plenty of other things as well, but Inge is that kind of, her kindness melts your heart. But she also is so essential, the way that mozzarella is to definitely American culinary culture. But it's essential in Italy as well, but not to the extreme. I know that in America we like our extra cheese on pizza. In Italy it's not as abrasive. But when it comes to Inge, she gives you that option that if you're looking to get something out of a book review, she's going to give you the complete package. She will automatically give you the extra cheese that you would want to dump on top of your pizza, or just take a good scoop of it if it's shredded, or a nice chunk of it if it is a ball or piece of mozzarella. And it's also essential for to pair up with supersat or sopressata. Next ones that I'm going to be talking about are Gretchen and Michaela from Betwixt the Books. I think that Betwixt the Books in general is one of the most underrated hidden gems in the booktube community, and last time I checked they had 249 subscribers. I think that they need to have at least one more zero at the end of that, if not two, maybe even three. But Gretchen, Michaela, and sometimes Taylor, if I were to compare them to types of cheese, I would compare them to the Swiss trio. Gretchen would be Emmentaler, which we know more on a global level as Swiss, but I'm going to stick with Emmentaler for this one, and I'll tell you why. Michaela would be Gruyere, and Taylor would be Appenzeller. Gretchen being Emmentaler. Emmentaler is probably the most recognizable cheese that there is, just based off of its appearance. And once you taste it, it has a very recognizable taste to it. It's very... It's not necessarily in the way that it has a kick to it, but it has a very intimate moment to it. And I think that when you watch, even when you watch Gretchen's individual videos especially, you get that great sense of emotion when you watch the videos. And I think that she really puts a lot in the way that an Emmentaler cheese puts into its experience. And another interesting thing is that what people generally always call holes are actually called eyes. And when Gretchen becomes passionate, her eyes they get wide. You see the passion in her eyes when she is talking about a book. And an Emmentaler is often judged by the size of the eye, or the many eyes that make up its embodiment, and I can't help but make that parallel. And Michaela, on the other hand, being a Gruyere, Gruyere it's really begun to make its appearance well known. It's definitely in Emmentaler's shadow when Emmentaler is called Swiss, but even in the name itself. But Gruyere is also a key ingredient, especially in a high-end macaroni and cheese. And when you put Emmentaler and Gruyere together, they make up the familiar dish that we know as fondue. And so Gretchen and Michaela are the fondue of the Booktube community. But Michaela is a bit more subtle, but she offers a great sense of genius when it comes to her videos. And Taylor would be Appenzeller because Appenzeller is not as well known as the other two, but definitely has something great to offer. I enjoy a nice, more laid-back, but very plentiful piece of Appenzeller cheese. Next one I want to talk about is Sue and Megan from the restricted section. They've done plenty of my foodie book tags, including the cheese book tag. And if I were to compare them to types of cheese, I would compare them to yellow cheddar and Monterey Jack. I would say that Sue would be yellow cheddar and Megan would be Monterey Jack. But I think that both of them are so similar in their attitudes, and I feel that I feel that yellow cheddar and Monterey Jack together are very vibrant and saucy, and it's almost as if it is a Mexican food party interpreted by Americans, where they would be serving tacos, burritos, quesadillas, and my favorite cheese to have on that is the yellow cheddar Monterey Jack mix, and so that makes me think of Sue and Megan. Next one I'm going to talk about is Danielle from This Is Danielle, and if I were to compare her to a cheese, it would be Rapacious, which is another Swiss cheese, but it's known most for the dish known as raclette, where it's melted and served with meat and potatoes. But I've tried raclette on its own, and I like to eat it with a potato, because to me it has a taste that's very similar. To me, when I eat the raclette with the potato, it gives the potato the emphasis. It's almost as if the potato is getting highlights, and it's ready to be indulged. And I think that Danielle's videos, like the raclette, are, I think that she's subtle with how often she produces content, because she only wants to put forward the best content with the best quality. I feel that it pays off, because what she does put forth is outstanding quality. And I think that the raclette is that kind of subtle cheese that gives the potato the great opportunity to shine while not really changing too much. Next one I'm going to talk about is Tessa from Tessa's Library, and if I were to compare her to a cheese, it would be Asiago. Because I feel that Asiago cheese is a kind of cheese that can fall under the radar, but it has made plenty of appearances in multi-cheese dishes, whether it be mac and cheese, fettuccine alfredos, dressings, just different kinds of dishes where Asiago incorporates its presence, and it plays an essential role in so many other dishes as well. I enjoy eating it with different kinds of fruit, and in other particular ways as well. And I think that Tessa is somebody that embodies a booktuber. I think that she embodies the quintessential book nerd. I think that she would be my initial impression when it comes to a booktuber, preferably a librarian. She embodies that completely. Yeah. Next one is Bekka from My Dreams of Reading, and if I were to compare her to a cheese, I would compare her to Pecorino Romano, which is, to me personally, it's the cheese I use the most often, and I would consider it my absolute favorite. But I think Pecorino Romano is often overlooked in favor of Parmigiano Reggiano, especially when it comes to topping pasta. For some reason, I just feel that Pecorino Romano is a much better pasta cheese, unless it is a very savory pasta, like the what I call pasta Lydia. It's one of Lydia's key pasta dishes, but with that I like Grana Padano. Or a fettuccine alfredo, I prefer a Parmigiano, because Pecorino Romano is far more assertive in its nature. And I think that in Bekka's videos, she is clearly assertive with her opinions. She's assertive and she's passionate, and she has a lot to offer. And I feel that Pecorino Romano has so much to offer, and I feel that people are beginning to incorporate that much more. I think people make mention to using it on top of a legume or bean dishes, like cannellini bean based dishes. And I think that once you begin to consume, or once you begin to start eating Pecorino Romano, you become hooked, and you definitely want to incorporate it much more. And once you watch Bekka's videos, you definitely want to watch more of what she has to offer. And finally, I am going to make my own comparison. If someone were to ask me, if you were a cheese, which kind of cheese would you be? And while my answer may change every now and then, right now I would compare myself to a Pecorino Tartufo, which I would even say that the channel is a bit like a Pecorino Tartufo in how it's off the beaten path. And to me, Literary Gladiators really takes on a different tone from what I've often seen, and I want to keep taking a different tone. We'll do some things that we find interesting, but there's so much that we want to do, and so much that's going on that we're not necessarily going to go with the crowd on every occasion. And I feel that Pecorino Tartufo has a unique taste, and it needs the right consumer. And to me, I love Pecorino Tartufo. There's other people that are not that way. Just about everybody else in my household is not too fond of Pecorino Tartufo, or at least every other human in my household is not necessarily fond of it. But I think that I would say that I would be a bit modest, where there's people that are looking for more traditional videos that are shorter in length, but we hope that you take a chance on us, and we have a lot to offer. So, a little bit of a pitch, but I would say that if I was a cheese, I'd be Pecorino Tartufo. Alrighty, everybody that was mentioned in this video, I tag you to do this tag, if you wish, because this is probably one of the most extreme tags that are out there. This is a hybrid of Pay It Forward and Foodie book tag. And I would be really curious to hear how you would respond to each of the questions. And by all means, if you have different answers, I'd be really interested to hear what they are and why you choose that answer. I'd be really curious to hear what kind of cheese you would think I would be. Thank you for tuning into this video. I hope you check out some more videos from our channel. We post so many different kinds of things. And for now, keep reading. And for me, I'm going to keep eating. I got this nice container of Pecorino Romano cheese, and it's shredded.